Coulson's appearance sends May looking for answers. We learn a little bit about Sarge and his crew, and Fitz, well, knows just how uncompromising angry men can be. Yes, he does. It's Agents of S.P.O.I.L.E.R.S, Season 6, Episode 2. Window of Opportunity. You know, the portal thing. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of Agents of S.P.O.I.L.E. So yes, of course, lots of spoilers ahead. And as usual, do want to remind you about our quick jump index system. Take a look down in the description below. I've got a full breakdown of this review, time codes. You can jump to your favorite part. You can come back later. You can watch the review in any order that you would like. So go ahead and check that out. All right, so back again. I've been so excited for Friday this week. Yeah, God, really, man, just every episode just fills the warm cockles of my heart with its specialness. Just really have been so excited about this show being back. I guess when we get a year-long hiatus, that kind of excitement should be expected. So yeah, and diving right into things. I think the episode, again, overall, great episode. Moving the storyline forward, like I said, jumping right into things with Coulson, Sarge, sorry, let's get this straight. I know, it's going to take a little while to get used to all these little switches and so on. Though, again, we'll get into it. It's not entirely different. But showing us Sarge and his gang, and like any badass, like any Terminator, popping up into our time, our world. First thing they do, grab the sunglasses. And any other supplies you want, just throw it in the bag because you're robbing the place, because you don't care, you're fresh to the planet. But it's nice in that opening sequence to see Sarge, Phil Coulson, different Coulson, we'll have to call him Sarge just to keep things clear, very much with the same mannerisms as our Phil Coulson. His manner of speech, his little wry humor, his particular perspective, all very Coulson. However, an extra level of badass, permanent infused inside of Sarge right here. And I have to say, as much as I miss Phil, and I really do, I'm liking Sarge. I really am. Again, it's Coulson, just with a badass attitude. But still, I mean, no problem killing, but not really his thing. That was one of the things I think that struck, I mean, first of all, just his sense of humor and his timing and manner of speech. But his way of dealing, I love that line. People fantasize about doing something heroic in times like these. It's such a badass line to be staring down at somebody. It's like, I dare you to draw. And I've been through a lot. And whatever you're thinking of doing isn't going to work. I mean, there's so much that's said right in that statement. And again, with Clark Gregg's perfect kind of just little bit of understanding, little bit of joke, but also cutting right through truth, reality, focus. It was just, I love that. Again, that whole opening bit established everything we needed to know about his team. And it's actually good that we get a little bit of insight into where they're coming from, what's going on. We've got Pax, Tinker, who's the one that got frozen inside the concrete wall, Butterfly, of course, and Jocko the Giant, who hasn't tasted his own atmosphere in 9 months. They seem to all be human. With Jocko, we're either talking a world drastically different than Earth, atmospheric-wise, or he's not necessarily human. And as we are diving more into the cosmic realm with this season, well, I mean, we touched on it last season, but certainly even more of it this season, that's not entirely outside the world of possibilities. I do believe that Pax did say something to Sarge about, it's nice to be able to breathe So obviously the different Earths, different places that they have gone have different atmospheric qualities, or perhaps that is part of what happens to the world, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. But it establishes really well just the different places that you've gone. I mean, what was it? The first line, even in the robbery there in the beginning at the Quickie Mart, when he talked about wanting to see what the money looks like. You can tell a lot about a world by the way the money looks. Oh, it's got faces. Oh, it's one of those. I mean, again, it was just, there was so much said in that opening scene to really show how traveled this group is and how sort of hard-ass this group is, that they have higher technology weapons, but they're looking for different things. Again, it gave such a dimensionality to all of them. I thought that was great. We also get sort of a hint that perhaps Pax is not wanting to do this fight journey, whatever the group is. Again, we find out a bit more about the group, looking for PEG, piezoelectric crystals, basically quartz crystals. They run your watch. You put a little pressure on them, they emit electrical charge. They're very cool. They also could potentially be storing of information. There is some look in modern computing that they can either be used to work with quantum computers or simply used as a storage device, kind of like USBs, but much more complex information stored much more onto a singular crystal. So those are all theoretical type of uses for them. What this group is using it for, we don't know. Is it memory storage? Is it to power something? Is it to power alien future, alternate Earth tech? Whatever it is that they are using. Again, we don't get to know that yet. But we do know, again, with a lot of different Earths that they've gone to, Earth seems to be the place, or this current Earth, seems to be the place where you can get everything. So this is kind of like going through, Amazon, just strolling through right for them. Anything they want, they can get here. So, yeah, it's just good. We don't know what their particular mission is yet, but we are seeing where they're coming from. We're seeing their makeup. We're seeing that potentially they might have a little rift with some of their people, but this isn't also unexpected. But was that between Jocko and Sarge? Because he's going the way of Tinker, he might be taking off. Well, we might need to look for replacements. So going through people also seems to be a kind of common occurrence. Jocko, again, possibly from another planet, hard-ass Earth, something, we're not entirely sure. Slightly different atmosphere, doesn't smell good. But he is usually the herald, the guy that goes through first, clears the way, super tough, super badass, the Hulk, the Thing of the group. Butterfly, just psychotic, pretty much, killer, likes to kill, maybe a little bit too much. Tinker was the tech guy, but he's gone now. And then we have Pax, who, I don't know, scout, know it, he's the guy that procures items, potential, don't really know what his sort of group is. And Sarge, who, of course, as we know, is Phil Coulson, all the way down to his DNA. And yes, analysis of that DNA is just one of the many things that Dr. Marcus Benson has been diving in his brief time with S.H.I.E.L.D. I gotta say, that's one thing that I like, that also really enjoyed about this episode, is them jumping right into it's Coulson. It looks like Coulson. May's response, there wasn't that, oh, do you think what you saw? I think it might have been. I wasn't entirely sure. You know, she was a little hazy being being caught in the boom and all last week when she first saw Phil. But I like the fact that they are immediately, yes, it's Phil. May knows. Mack believes her, but also being smart. Good director move. Don't, let's kind of keep that quiet until we're really sure. That might put an odd ripple through the crowd. Also, great to see Mack. I think he's living the director life nicely. However, his job as director seems to be to stand in one place and make a speech while the camera spins around him. It's like Mack has been caught inside of a Michel Bay film while everybody else is doing their S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying I think they did that a couple of times this episode. And I was starting to go like, Okay, this is going to be Mack's whole job. Henry Simmons' entire job is to be in one room, maybe one room next to that, and stand there, give great speeches to everyone, and do motivation. That's Mack's job as director. I know they're trying to establish something different from from Coulson, and I get that. That's fine. Again, I'm not critiquing. I just found it kind of funny. But yeah, also enjoying Marcus sort of discovering and going through things, catching up, very upset about the whole LMD thing. I want to talk to the idiot that created that. Oh, sorry, I can't do that. One's dead, was lost inside the framework, and the other one is currently the object of a deep space search mission. So, yeah, kind of tough to do that one. So I'm starting to enjoying Marcus. I'm liking his little personality. It's different from what we've had before in the show. Well, maybe a little bit of similarities. But anyway, it's just I'm enjoying that character interaction. But to the DNA of Phil there, very interesting stuff. Because it's Phil's DNA, but it is altered, layer, exposed. Now, is this due to the dimensional traveling? Is this some residual marking on the DNA because of that? Is it whatever is happening on all these other worlds that they seem to be fleeing? Possibly. Is it the dirt suit that they're referring to about hard to breathe on these planets? Is it this part of the degradation of the world, the falling apart of the world? Because he was talking about layers of methyl sulfides and radiation. Was it radiation? I mean, again, they did a lot of gook stuff on top of the visuals there. It seemed to be layered. Well-worn DNA. Road trip worthy for sure. But yeah, just sort of an interesting... But it's again, let's just know this is Coulson. And like I mentioned before last week, with Marvel seeming to branch off in these alternate timelines, parallel universe, similar worlds to be traveling back and forth and around to. They're jumping right into that. They're saying straight off, different world, different place, definitely Phil. I mean, you can't say parallel universe any clearer than that. So I kind of love that whole idea, now seeing that there's a threat going through different universes and tearing through it. That's fascinating. We did get that quick glimpse at the end of the episode where we saw the previous recording. And I'm not entirely sure then that Phil and his gang, that Sarge and his gang are behind it. Because the background's all full with these birds, bats, flying creatures. And when the portal first opened up, right before Jocko came out last week, we had those, again, seemed like birds flying through. And I didn't really think much of it. You know, it was just the portal is open and there were birds in the area, and that just shows that something is coming through. It was being used as a demonstration of the breaching of worlds, of the portal effect. But with these flying creatures, birds apparently appearing in the background here and in greater numbers, do they come through first and that opens the world up potentially to Sarge? Are they following and then just doing what they can in the next world before it falls and constantly moving on and tearing through worlds? And are they basically on the run? Are they not causing everything, but they're on the run going from planet to planet as it falls to try and stay one step ahead? So again, interesting. Some people are willing to kill in order to survive. Some people not so much. Maybe that's a difference between, say, Jocko and Butterfly and Sarge, who's willing to kill, but that's not really his first option. But story-wise, yes, loved the quick pace, loved how there's no lag behind. Again, it's 13 episodes. There's a lot of story to tell. There's no reason to lag and drag things out. And they have kept things really tight while still able to focus on little moments, character bits. Mack, obviously, knowing about Killer and Yo-Yo, even though everyone else, they think that it's sort of quiet. As Yo-Yo says, well, that's why he's director. He's a smart guy. So again, letting to know how this time has passed and how it sort of affected people's small little bit character moments, but don't have to dwell on. Even kind of the little girl discussion scene between May and Yo-Yo went quickly. I mean, again, those emotional bits, those aren't my favorite parts, but I also like the fact that we're seeing kind of different sides of these characters, and they're able to have these kind of little discussions. And also it kind of sets up that back and forth of like, when Yo-Yo was talking to Keller about, and Keller's like, well, you said to take it easy. He's like, well, that was yesterday. Things are different now. Because, of course, poor Fox is dead. Definitely dead. Definitely. And then later on, turning around, when May's like, you should take it easy, and Yo-Yo's like, hey, wait a minute, just like yesterday, you told me to go dive into this. So it kind of allows the little playful moments, a little bit of levity in it. But again, it's not dwelt on. Everything moves very quickly. They find Sarge quickly. The whole robbery scene in the jewelry mount in the diamond store, I thought was brilliant. Again, we're seeing Sarge using his line again. People fantasize about doing something heroic in times like this. Which is, again, great bits for character and a wonderful build-up. Oh, I'm here to spend money, show me the great stuff, and cash. I know your heart rate's going and everything. Well, just think how quick it's going to go when we rob you. I mean, it's a perfect sort of build-up right there. And just sort of a great scene. I like the fact that they find him quick, and then when they find him trapped inside of the vault and they're able to look through with their shield tech and see the portal, May instantly thinks back, well, that's what was going on in the that construction site, the storage depot, whatever that was. Looked like just a bunch of vehicles kind of parked all right there, like vehicular storage or something like that. Anyway, so I just loved how May was able to quickly suss that out and head back and sort of catch him on the back end. Which gets us to our Scene of the Week for this week. And that is, Badass May in the back of a truck. You know the tension, everything's built up, the energy that's going on with May throughout this episode. Again, described perfectly. I think, what was it, from Mack to Benson? You know, that memory that's too painful to think about. Yeah, well, May's memory is going around killing people. But that was a perfect description. And also, obviously, seeing how May reacted to Benson's push about who Coulson was and all of that. Is he actually dead? Yeah, don't push that button with May. And this is all of that energy coming forward. Coulson seems to be out there, someone who looks like Coulson. I want answers. And put the biggest people in their way. Pax is not that big. He didn't last that long. Of course not. But Jocko the Giant, you always want to show how badass a character is. Put him up against the Hulk, the Thing, not Cyclops. Cyclops is the I one. Colossus. God, I knew that was going to get into my head. Oh, man, that would have driven me nuts all night. You put him against the big person right there. You know, that's how you prove. And for May, just taking Jocko down was beautiful. Yes, he's got the size, but she has the skill. And it was a brilliantly done fight. It told the story that needed to be told. How badass May is, of course, especially with that leg injury that she had suffered last season, which is why she was all messed up, or the knee injury. Sorry, MCL that she tore. Didn't seem to slow her down. I had forgotten completely about that. She did it beautifully. It was love seeing her on the game. And then when we have Butterfly come in, adding that extra element, and then pushing the portal down and throwing the portal down on the ground to keep Butterfly trapped inside the safe. Oh man, it's smart fighting. It was perfect. It was a great scene. It shows us May being a badass, which we love to see. It shows her that she has the energy to focus to take out anyone, no matter how big, and she's smart and can use the environment around her. She's quickly adaptable. It was just highly energized scene, very entertaining, told the story that needed to be told. And then, of course, afterwards, who's going to walk in the door but Phil Coulson himself, Sarge. And there was, again, a great moment. We had a very quick moment in the last episode, and here again, a very quick moment. Just recognition, just Coulson before Butterfly uses the same thing against May. Puts the portal to the ground, pushes it against her feet, knocks her back through the portal, and then reaches through and shuts it down. That thing was awesome. I love doing that. And then Jocko's little discussion with Sarge right afterward. That word, Coulson. Did something. You froze. No, I didn't. Not really. Kind of. A little bit. Again, we're seeing the long-term relationship that we've got between Jocko and Sarge right here, which is always nice to see. I always love seeing that interpersonal banter when it's done through people that really know each other, and this establishes it pretty quickly. But with Sarge's line right afterwards, it sounds familiar, but it rings a bell, sorry. That becomes the question. How long has this Sarge been going on? Has this Coulson been going? Has it been since a kid? Is he that different? Has it just been a few years? Is this his secret past that he doesn't talk about? Because that was implied that he doesn't talk about where he's come from or what his whole past is to Pax there. So, again, we're getting little glimpses, further indications into the story. Not too much, but enough to keep us baited and intrigued and just, God, I want to know more. Now! And yes, of course, I'm going to talk about Fitz and Enoch's little adventure on the Sivan transport. Moving interplanetary snails, because they're such a delicacy. We do get to find out very quickly the shot that Fitz was giving himself, an iris scope to change his eye so that he would look like he is from Siva. It is good to know at least a little bit of geography if you're going to be playing from that particular planet, because apparently the northern parts of Siva is all irradiated. Nobody comes from there. Also find something very interesting out. Terrans, Earthers, are a known race. Now again, I know we're moving more into the cosmic world, and we do know out there at the very least there's one Earther, there's Star-Lord. But how well known are Terrans? And of course, Star-Lord's not calling himself a Terran. He would say he's a human. He's from Earth. Now we know that aliens have been visiting Earth for a while. The Kree certainly not a whole lot really recently, yes. But previous 100 years, before Iron Man, not a whole lot of interplanetary visitors from an MCU standpoint from what we've known about. So I found that very interesting. That Terrans are known. How much traveling have they been? Is this the truth behind all those alien abduction stories? Just sort of seeding the universe, spreading what seems to be a bad reputation of some sort. They said Sevens were a little xenophobic, so they just don't seem to like anybody. But it was just a small thing from the controller of their view that Terrans were a recognizable race. Certainly. And not really a whole lot here. We know he's with Enoch. We know that he is definitely planning to freeze himself, much like Gemma had thought last week, so he can wait out his time and go meet up with Gemma in the future. Obviously, they don't know that the future has been changed. There's no need for that right now, because when you're in deep space, it's hard to get those Earth phone calls, texts, a little outside of your range. The roaming charges, I'm sure, just frightening. But anyway, so that was kind of a good reminder. Also, Fitz, gotta be the good guy. He's been through a lot, but he still wants to be able to face his girl and look her in the eye when he wakes up in the future and finds her. So he's got to do the right thing. Of course, he switched the airlock around. That's totally expected. Isn't that the classic Superman? Kept himself safe inside the crystal and then negated everybody else's powers, and that's how he got rid of Zod. Yeah, it's a classic sci-fi decision right here. Fitz would be on top of that. So that's it. Now he's going to go drop off the crew before he goes back to the planet and freezes himself again. Now, the only part that really bothered me, I like the whole sequence. I like catching up with Fitz. I loved seeing all of those little and the back and forth with Enoch. That was all lovely. I hate when they do those near misses. Because he's right there in front of Axos. He's staring at the planet. It's like, well, if we land, they're going to know that you killed the controller, and then it's all mutiny for you, and you're all going to be dead. So we should probably go drop off the crew somewhere else first. And so just as they leave orbit, that's when Gemma and the gang show up. And I hate when they do those near misses. I mean, because again, it's like, geez, if you stopped and took a leak or enjoyed the sight for a moment, double-checked your calculations, you would have seen the Zephyr appear right next to you, and it would all been over. Of course, that would have made the adventure a little too quick. But I hate it when they do those near misses. Just always bothers me, and it makes me a little sad. All right, just a couple of small things. One, Fitz's line to Enoch. There's a part of me that knows how uncompromising an angry man can be. Obviously, he is referring to that part of him that is the Doctor, that has gone through all of that darkness there in the framework. It has had a long-term effect on Fitz. He has been turning badass, and it's one thing that I've enjoyed about Fitz. Every season, he's expanding. There was a new side. You had Kid Fitz in the first one. Second season was, Fitz with the scrambled brain. Third season, you're starting to get into badass Fitz who's looking for Gemma. 4, we got scientist Fitz, and then into the Doctor in the framework. Last season, of course, we got Space Fitz, who is willing to push, do anything, freeze himself, wake up in the future in order to save the woman that he loves. And now it's Galactic Fitz. We're seeing all these different sides, and in some ways, I think now we're actually catching a blend of many of those things. We're seeing Fitz integrate these parts of himself, I think, a little bit better. And maybe that's one thing this adventure will do, is help integrate the Doctor in him and not have it be such a strong, almost competing personality that it seemed to have come in Season 5. The phase door, I guess we can call it, whatever that is. Super cool. I love the whole paint can thing. And then they put the little machine on top and that traces the paint marker, what I'm just going to call it red paint for now until we know exactly what it is, to open up the doorway. Super cool. Reminded me a bit of the Looney Tunes Roadrunner caves. When the coyote comes up and paints the cave, and then Roadrunner can go through, but of course the coyote can't. It's just the same thing. That's all I thought is cool. As Sarge is painting that, it's like, shh, shh, puts it on, tunnel, walk through, pulls it off. May runs right into the wall. It's exactly like that. Really looking forward to finding out a bit more about all of the tech that Sarge and company has access to. Certainly, cool thing having an invisible truck. However, when S.P.O.I.L.E. has invisible Quinjets, it's not a big surprise to them. That's how they know exactly how to look for those things. And of course, the last big question that we might have of the episode is, what was Sarge doing with that big old gun before Dana, small thing, but I love that. It's hilarious. Went running by Sarge. Help! That was awesome. But what was he doing with a big gun? That's the big question right there. Again, they're implying that this group is causing whatever these issues are. Maybe they are not. Certainly the idea of taking a break, what that's what Pax had put onto Sarge. Hey, this is nice here. We can breathe. Shouldn't we hang out for a while? You mean cool down? No, I mean recharge. Again, perspective right there. But that would seem to imply more that they've got a bit more choice, though Sarge feels a bit more on the timetable. So I'm just sort of curious, what was Sarge's gun going to do? It's definitely looking for a sky beam of some sort, but is that opening something up to the bad guys? Is it doing something for them? Is it bringing in more people? Because they seem to be looking for a large space, open space, in order to bring something else in when they were scouting things out just before the guard arrived. That's what it seemed to imply. More space than just for the truck. So is he opening up a portal to bring more people in? Is he leading refugees from other worlds? Again, a lot of questions. But I would be hesitant to clamp down on that this group are actual full-scale villains. Not till we know a little bit more info. Alright, well I think that pretty much covers everything. Thank you so much for joining me with this review. Now next week, looks like primarily space action as Gemma and company head down the planet on the trail of Fitz and Enoch. And, of course, as we know with all things with S.P.O.I.L.E., that's not going to be a simple task. However, I'm hoping it's not going to strain out too long. I like being in space, but Gemma and Fitz need to be back together, and they all need to be back on Earth. Davis needs to see his kid. Because of whatever apocalyptic thing Sarge is bringing on, we're going to need the whole team together. So, yeah, let's face it, next week can't come fast enough. But, like I said, we are going to wrap things up here. Now, if you enjoyed this review, please go ahead and hit that like button. Actually, hit the share button. Share this with all of your friends. Put it on all the social media. Of course, you can catch me on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Darren Jakes. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. Where do you think things are going? Sarge, good guy, bad guy, like him, miss Coulson too much? What are your thoughts? Throw those down in the section below. Now, of course, we've got a whole season of S.H.I.E.L.D. coming up right here. We're just wrapping up Game of Thrones, and we have a Legion final season coming up next month. Can't wait for that show. So trippy. Love it. Very sad it's the end, but sometimes it's good to wrap these things up on a high note. So that's going to be coming up next month. Preacher in August. So don't miss any of those reviews. If you're a subscriber, do that by clicking this button right here. And we'll throw up a couple of our other reviews right here, randomized, for you to check out. So that's going to be it for me. I'm D, and I'm out of here. Catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.